The old Taylor can't come to the phone right now.
Say you'll remember me, standing in a nice dress, staring at the sunset fade. White lips and rosy cheeks. Say you'll see me again, even if it's just with a chocolate dreams.
All right, so I'm going to keep this intro really short and really sweet. I wanted to tell you all that I just finished my 1989 reaction, and I'm about to do the vault tracks, but the video is so long that, yes, I'm cutting them up for YouTube, but if you want the uncut versions of either one of those videos, I'm making them available for $1 on Patreon. The link is down in the description for that. I was going to do 89 cents, but they wouldn't let me do 89 cents. Would have been more fun. But yeah, so if you want to check that out, support the channel, link is down in the description. I've also got a $5 and a $10 tier. $10 tier, we're watching The Voice and Kitchen Nightmares and Forensic Files and all sorts of cool things on there like that, and movies and music movies, all that cool stuff. The $5 tier has over 50 albums that have been blocked here on YouTube or are just exclusive to Patreon, and a ton of other content. So feel free to check it out if you want. And that being said, I wanted to tell you all why this video is so long and so in-depth. I'm doing things a little differently this time, changing up the format, because I really want to talk about the production, but I also want to react. So what I'm doing is I listen to each song twice, and the first time through, I just react. I don't pause. I just listen and I take notes, and unless I just could not help myself, which there were a couple times for that. But the second time through, I look at my notes and I go back through and talk about all the cool little production techniques, why this sounds the way it does, why this works so well, and really and truly just why 1989 is one of the best albums, in my opinion, of all time. It's literally one of the reasons that I started getting into production and arranging and music. It just, not music, but writing music and becoming a songwriter. So it's so inspiring, and this was so much fun. And I hope you all enjoy the video. This is Welcome to New York. This is going to be so nostalgic. I'm so excited. Oh my god. All right, cool. There's so much here, guys. Like, I can sit here and I can talk about all the differences, because there are definitely a lot of differences in this song. I mean, again, I wonder if Max Martin was on any of this, or if it was just Jack and, let me see, Ryan Tedder. When he did the first one too, didn't he? I think he did. So Max Martin didn't produce any of this. But anyways, it's just, again, so well balanced. Every 4 bars you have something new that enters, or maybe even every 2 bars you have something new that enters, but nothing enters at the same time. It's all one sound. Nothing is overwhelming, which is so cool. But let's go back and let's listen to this again, and I'm going to point out some of the things that I wrote down. One of them is her attitude. I love her attitude here. All right, now this. I don't know how I feel about this beat. I don't know if I like the I understand it's definitely dancier in that it kind of plays a little bit off of like the nightlife, like the clubs, like that sort of a party scene, you know, and not rave or anything like that, but you understand what I'm saying. You would hear that more in like electronic music, which might have been, again, sort of just a little bit of a play, maybe off of Memories, or, you know, maybe she went out to some clubs and there were some songs that, you know, were playing and it felt that way and that was very reminiscent, and so you stick it in there. Or it just could have been a, you know, just a one-off thing. Maybe they just decided to change the beat enough, because you have to, that she owns it now. But I don't know how much I like that. I think I like it more straightforward. gun, gun, with just little tiny bits in between.
When we first dropped our bags on apartment floors, took our broken hearts, put them in a drawer.
And just notice that beautiful interchanging of space here. Every little piece has a purpose. Every little instrument has a purpose. And it just, you pull everything out and then you just bring it up a little bit. And you're constantly doing this the entire song. And then you bring it here and then, but it's a little bit bigger than the first one. So the whole song is still doing this and growing. And it's just so well balanced.
The lights are so bright, but they never blind me. Welcome to New York. It's been waiting for
Something else I want you to pay attention to, especially here at the end, and we've already kind of, we heard it a little bit on the second verse, but the difference here in her delivery as a vocalist is unbelievable. It's so cool because it's like the first time you heard it, she was so much younger, and it was kind of like, which I had the same thing the first time I went to New York, or the first couple times I went to New York with my family. It's like this city of wonder, and you feel so small in this city, but that's a beautiful thing, and there's so much happening. Now it feels like she owns the city. Like that is her place. It's not her visiting. It's not her standing there and, just absolute amazement at everything that she sees around her. It's, I'm here. This is my place. And you can hear it in her attitude. And it's because she's grown so much as an artist. And you can even hear a lot of the little influctuations and things that she would maybe do during rep or during midnights. It's cool. Just listen for them.
Welcome to New York, so bright. They never fly. Welcome to New York.
And the way that the vocal comes forward there, you've kind of pulled off all the side chaining and everything, so her vocal sits farther forward in that mix, and it's nice and intimate and dry and clean and crisp and clear. Wow.
Welcome to New York.
Cool. All right, we're gonna keep going. I'm loving this. All right, blank space.
Nice to meet you where you been. I could show you incredible things. Magic, madness, heaven, sin. Grab your passport and my hand. I can make the bad guys good for a weekend. So it's gonna be forever, or it's gonna go down in flames. You get it, 'cause we're young and we're reckless, baby. And I'll write your name. Boys only want love if it's torture. Don't say I didn't warn ya. So it's gonna be forever. Ooh, leave a nasty scar. Gonna Starbucks lovers, they'll tell you I'm insane, but I've got a blank space, baby, and I'll write your name.
Okay. All right. Cool. There's a lot here too, man. Oh, I'm so stoked. This is fun. This is so fun. It could just be me, but it feels like for the first probably half of this song, before like the second half of the second verse, and I'll tell you exactly where that is, it almost feels like it's dragging a little bit. And it might just be the way that she sang it, but I started asking myself, is this actually a slower tempo? Because it felt slower than the very first one, the original. But again, it might just be because she's singing a little bit behind the beat for that whole first bit, which is a little jazzier. First thing is that synth, that gung, gung, gung. That bit is so much farther back in the mix than the original version. And I don't know how I feel about that because that's such a, it's so iconic.
Nice to meet you where you been.
But it does allow her vocal to sit even farther forward.
So it's gonna be forever.
And again, same thing as with Welcome to New York, her attitude and so much more. I know who I am at this point. I'm not trying to prove anything because you have to think about it too. 1989 was such a big change for her, like a very drastic big change. And it was very, very definable. It was a very definable point in for me in music history, especially, but and in her career. But now it's like she's gone through it all. She knows what to do. She is fully confident. I love that. I love hearing that in her. Something else really cool that I want you to hear and think about, especially on this chorus. It's meant to be a darker song. It's meant to sort of teeter on that feeling of manipulative intentions. And so having that really just nice dirty synth to take all of that room in the bass frequencies up really just gives you that feeling, that subtle darkness without putting it in a minor key or anything.
Got a long list of ex-lovers, they'll tell you I'm insane, but I've got a blank space, baby, and I'll write your name.
Something else cool that I want you to pay attention to here is every single time she does her little mouth click that sounds like a pen click. I always thought it was a pen click, but then everyone told me it's not. It's actually her mouth. Here, you can hear it so much more. It's far more defined. You can tell that she's making that sound with her mouth. But with each time that she does it, it's a little bit more forward.
Time you leave, 'cause darling, I'm a nightmare dressed like a daydream, so it's gonna be forever.
And again, that second half of that second verse is where it starts to feel like it's not dragging so much. I didn't notice it as much this time around, but the first time I definitely noticed it. On this bridge, it's very interesting that they chose, I'm looking over here because I have like my screen and everything, but it's very interesting that they chose to really dry everything out, but then bring in those bigger drums and stick them in the back. Vocals feel so much more forward on this bridge, and I wonder why. Maybe it's because they wanted to dry it out a little bit, so when that last chorus comes in, it hits even harder and tried to make it bigger than the first one.
And I'll write your name. Boys only want love if it's torture.
There's not even a drop of reverb on that vocal. Maybe this much.
Don't say I didn't warn ya. Boys only want love if it's torture. Don't say I didn't warn ya. So it's gonna be forever.
On her vocal style there too, you can tell that she opened up for that held note and then starts to sort of close it off a little bit, and it gives it more, again, attitude, and that's just something that she's picked up over the years.
And I'll write your name.
See, you can so tell now. All right, we're gonna keep going. If you can't tell that this is one of my favorite albums of all time, I'm so in this right now. All right, style.
Exactly where it leads, but I watch us go round and round each time. You got that James Dean daydream look in your eye, and I got that red lip classic that you've been out and about with some other girl, Get out of style, take me out. Just take me out.
I just have to say, every single time I hear this, I still hear the I still get jealous every single time. Okay, I had to double check something, and I'm pretty sure I'm right. I'll let you all know whenever we get to this chorus, because I think there's a reason that this chorus doesn't hit as hard as the original did. So first off, one thing I want you to pay attention to that's really cool here, to set up this feeling, this drive, this pump, what you're hearing is called sidechaining. The best way to explain or to describe it is you have a kick drum that's going kung, 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 and what you do is you put what's called a compressor on whatever other instrument you want to tie to that kick drum. So basically, you're linking them together. So every single time that kick drum hits the instrument that you've decided to tie to it, which here it's pretty much everything, ducks. It goes down in volume. So that way the kick comes really forward and this goes down the second it hits. So basically it feels like it's going hum, 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 hum. And it gives you, again, that pump, that drive kind of feeling.
You come and pick me up, no headlights.
Another thing too that I noticed is the kick here is, I mean, it is a different kick than the original one. I don't know if I like that little sort of high end. There's a little too much there for me. I'd like a little bit of a beefier kind of kick than that. Not so much of that high end, but I mean, that was totally their choice because they probably needed it to stick out a little bit more. So that's why you would keep that high end. But I don't know. I don't know how much I like it. This is definitely a bigger kick though.
You got that James Dean daydream look in your eye, and I got that red lip classic.
Okay, so what I have noticed is there's two little things that happen whenever that chorus hits. One, you have a white noise basically crash. So it's going like, and you hear how it's pumping. So that side change of that kick. So it's going, and then there's one more on top of that kind of does this like sort of a thing, and it's meant to give that chorus impact, and they're both in the original song, but here I feel like they're pushed a little too far back, so it kind of takes away from that impact, and they fade away much quicker, so it doesn't feel like this chorus is sort of doing this and just going. It kind of feels like it just sort of does this really fast, you know?
'Cause you got that James Dean daydream look in your eye.
One other thing I do want to talk about, because I haven't talked about them on any of the songs so far, but one thing that she utilizes a lot with her lyrical structure in these is, I used to talk about this in videos all the time, which call and response. There's a lot of call and response here, but it's the same line, tail line for the verses, and then generally like a same line, tail line for the choruses to provide contrast. So just kind of keep that in the back of your mind and listen for it, and you'll start seeing it and hearing it a lot more in these songs. But right here, you've got that James Dean daydream look in your eyes, and I got that and 3 times, and then you go to the little tail line. Also notice how on all of these songs, just about all of them, that last chorus is the biggest one. Each chorus is a little bit bigger than the one that came before it. So now you've got more harmonies, you've got more little ear candy vocal lines going on. It just feels much bigger. And a lot of times you'll add in another instrument or a shaker or something to just make it feel like it's grown.
We never go out of style.
Beautiful. Beautiful. All right, let's keep this going. So we are on Out of the Woods. One of my favorite songs of all time.
Looking at it now, you took a Polaroid of us, then discovered clear in the clear, in the clear. Looking at it now, when you started crying, baby, I did too. When the sun came up, I was looking at you. Remember when I couldn't take the heat? I walked out, said I'm setting you free, but the monsters turned out to be just trees. When the sun came up, you were looking at me. I remember. Oh, I remember. Are we out of the woods yet? Are we out of the woods yet? Are we out of the woods yet?
Oh my God. They made it bigger. I just sounded like John Travolta. Oh my God.
Time, you gotta come out of the closet. Oh my God.
They made it so much bigger somehow. My voice just cracked. I'm so excited. They made it bigger. Wow.
Looking at it now.
First off, you can just tell this is what Jack wanted to do in the very beginning. He's a drummer, just like me. I've been playing drums for 20 years now. Just, you always want everything to be a little bit bigger. You want the drums to be a little bit bigger. You want the oomph.
Remember thinking, are we out of the woods yet? Are we out of the woods yet? Are we out of the woods yet? Are we out of the woods?
So, I want to talk about why this is bigger, why this chorus hits so much more. You'll notice at the very end of the chorus, there's this 16th note kick that's going get like that. That's here on the chorus. It's just pushed back really far. And again, that side chaining thing I was talking about in style, it's applied here as well. So it basically, you hear it barely for like a couple of them. It's like, and then it all comes forward at the end of the chorus. Also, the backing vocals, the gang vocals, the ones I know Jack did a bunch of those. I think that was him. They're way more forward. Yeah, they're way more prominent here, so it feels so much bigger. And there's a lot more high end and white noise going on here too. That just makes it feel like this whole thing is lifted from that little bit of a darker verse.
Last December, we were built to fall.
I do also want to say it's extremely difficult to remake songs that are so popular and still do them justice. They're doing an insane job. There's always going to be little things that maybe you don't care for as much, or maybe I don't like as much as the original, and one of them is coming up, but it's again, it's sort of interpretation. And it's because that's what we're used to. If it's something that you're used to, you want to hear the same thing, but at the same time, you're expecting it to be different and be bigger. So that's a hard tightrope to walk when you're remaking these.
The night we couldn't quite forget when we decided.
See, I don't know if I like that everything has been pulled out here so early. I might have waited maybe another 2 bars or something before you pulled it out. I understand why they did. It's so that second chorus, whenever you hit it and you come into it, it's so much bigger because you've pulled everything out. Again, that's all about that contrast, that dynamic that you're searching for in these songs. I just don't know if I would have done it so soon because it almost feels like it drifts off a little too much.
We decided to move the furniture so we could dance, baby, like we stood a chance.
But then again, it feels like everything is falling apart. Maybe that was the intention. It plays off of the lyric really well because the music makes it literally feel like everything between two people is falling apart and then comes back together. Oh, man.
2 paper airplanes flying, and I remember thinking, are we out of the woods yet? Are we out of the woods? Are we in the clear yet? Are we in the clear yet? In the clear yet?
It's her yas too. I love the yas. It's like one of my favorite things that Taylor does. That and when she says fuck.
Remember when you hit the brakes too soon? 20 stitches in a hospital room. Are we in the clear yet?
So one thing I do want to pull back because I realized I didn't talk about it on Style or Blank Space or Welcome to New York. It's where you're starting rhythmically with your vocal to provide contrast between sections. If I remember correctly here.
Looking at it now.
Okay, so she starts on the 1, which means you either have a lead in or you start on the 1 or you start on the offbeat. Here she starts on the 1. And generally what you want to do is between your sections, start on something different. Yeah, so then you took a Polaroid of us. So there's the little lead in to kind of give it a little contrast.
And I remember thinking, are we out of the woods yet?
So then she goes to the offbeat for the chorus. Boom, are we out of the woods yet? Are we out of the woods yet? Are we out of the woods yet? So you have that one. So again, that contrast. It's just something cool to pay attention to, or if you're writing music to try and kind of emulate. Again, these are all tools. They're not rules. There really aren't rules in songwriting. They're just things to help you make your songs better as you're writing. So if you're kind of stuck on something or you want it to give a little bit more here, give a little bit more here, you'll just grab that bag of tools and be like, oh, you know what? I'll take this and I'll start it here. I'll start this here. I'll start this here and create that contrast. And it's amazing. All right, so we are on All You Had to Do Was Stay.
People like you always want back. When you say you've changed, the more I think about it now. Off the road, hey, all you had to do was stay. Have me in the palm of your hand when you say goodbye. Hey, all you had to do was stay. Have me in the palm of your hand. Then watch this was what you wanted. Not like this. Not like this. All you had to do was, hey, all you had to do was, all you had to do was, all you had to do was.
Okay. All right. Hold on. Let me write down this last little bit. One of the first things I do want you to pay attention to is how bright the chorus is and how it becomes brighter. So high frequencies and brighter tones actually resonate with human beings much more than lower tones do. I've talked about this a lot on my Patreon lately as I'm breaking down some songs and teaching some things as well.
When you locked me out, when I let you in.
I also want to say props to Christopher for producing most of these. I mean, wow. Awesome freaking job. And I wanted to say as well here, call and response. That's what I wanted to say so badly the first time through because that stay is just the perfect grab. And again, it's that really high pitched frequency. So you're just like, Where's okay? Yes, I'm paying attention. I'm listening.
But I don't know what to
And
say.
just very low key verses as well. Like there's not too much going on. It's a little darker again, so it feels like everything calms down. But it's actually still a little bit bigger than the very first verse was.
I've been picking up the pieces. Let me remind you, this was what you want.
Call and response right here. Just pay attention to that. It's so important. This is why I've been saying it for 3 years. It's so important in songs to have that. It's so good. And also, for those of you that maybe are new to the channel, call and response, I've been talking about it for a very, very long time. But the way you want to think about it is, especially if you go and you listen to that bridge again, if she was performing in a stadium, it's like she sings it, then you sing it. Then she sings it, then you sing it. And so you have that push and that pull and that interaction, and it works so well for music and for live shows. And actually there on that bridge, she could literally just go, all right, I'll sing this, you sing this, and then you sing this, and we'll kind of go section by section, which is so sick. Absolutely sick. Okay, so we are on Shake It Off. This is going to be interesting. I have no idea what they're going to do. Let's go. Oh, it's bigger. Sorry. That was so involuntary of me.
That's what people say. Gonna break, 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 break. And the fake is gonna fake, 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 fake. I'll make the moves up as I go. And that's what they don't know.
Hey, hey, hey! Just think, while you've been getting down and out about the liars and the dirty, dirty cheats of the world, you could have been getting down to this sick.
Come on over, baby, we can shake, shake, shake. Yeah, 'cause the play's gonna play, 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 play.
Okay, so there's a couple things. Hold on, let me write this last one down. All right, let's pull this back. There's not a ton, but there's some really cool little things in here that I definitely want to talk about. So let's see. First off, yes, it's bigger. I made that very well known. Let's see.
I stay out too late. Got nothing in my brain.
And all that is just mix. I mean, that's what's making that bigger.
'Cause the play's gonna play, 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 play. And the haters gonna hate, hate, hate.
And originally, before we got to the bridge, I thought that was like a jaguar or something like that, making that sound, but it's actually the crowd going ooh and ah, like you're breathing in and breathing out, which is different but cool.
Hey, hey, baby, I'm just gonna shake, 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 shake it out. I never miss a beat.
And I also want to say, you know what's really cool about utilizing that on the course instead? Live. Like stadium shows, if she plays Shake It Up, which she will play Shake It Off, I'm sure, now the crowd has something more to do that's more interactive. It's that call and response thing.
I'm lightning on my feet. And that's what they don't see. That's what they don't see.
That, I was like, is there something in the room? What is that? But it's just a really, you remember how I talked about the high pitches and how it just grabs your attention and pulls you in? That little high-pitched click that I can't even, like something.
I'm dancing on my own. Dancing on my own. I'll make the moves up as I go. Moves up as I go. And that's what they don't know.
God, it almost hurts. It's so high-pitched.
That's what they don't know.
I don't know if I like that. I mean, it's great. It's just like a little, I don't know. It provides, I guess, for me, it makes me more tense.
Breakers gonna break, break, break.
And notice that there is never a second in this song where something isn't happening, something different isn't happening. There's either a different accent vocal behind hers, or, you know, some little instrument, or something is changing. Always. You're interchanging that space and just always pulling the listeners.
Hey, hey, hey!
Now here, this wasn't the original, but it feels a little bit, feels like there's a little more here. Saturation on her vocal, which saturation is essentially like, it's almost like proximity effect, where basically if you get really up close to a microphone and you yell into that microphone, it's going to get distorted. But this is like a synthetic version of that. So you apply that to a vocal to immediately, or you can apply it to drums. I've heard that a lot. You can do it with guitars to give them more grit if you want. It's a little bit more aggressive. And even if it's on just a real chill sung vocal, it's going to sound more aggressive if you put that saturation on it. That's why you hear a lot of that in a lot of the new sort of pop punk stuff that's been coming out, or a lot of anything that's kind of a little bit more on the rock side. Even Demi Lovato in her new stuff, there was a ton of saturation on the drums. There was a ton of saturation on even like the synths that were under the guitars that were layering them. I mean, it's very useful.
The hella good hair, won't you come on over, baby? We can shake, shake, shake.
And you can hear the smile in her vocal there so much more now. Again, how much she's grown as a vocalist really showcases itself here.
I shake it how you got to. I shake it out.
And the layered da da da, like I can't get that same tone, you know, but that layered vocal over the horns is really cool too. It just another just sort of, you know, introduction of something new that actually might have been there the entire time. It's just a little it's probably pushed back. That's cool. That's so cool. They did a good job. I wish you would. I haven't heard this one in a long time.
It's 2 a.m. in your car. Say, I wish you would come back. Wish I never hung up the phone like I did. Wish you knew that I'll never forget you as long as I live. And I'm right back around. I wish you would come back. Wish I never hung up the phone like I did. I wish I 2 a.m. Here we are. Wish you were right here, right now. It's all good. I wish you would come back. Wish I never hung up the phone like I did. I wish you would. I wish you would. I wish you would.
They brought that one. Whoa, they brought that one. God, about a quarter of the way through, I was like, Jack's doing this one. There's no doubt in my mind Jack is doing this one. And when those drums came in, that is exactly what I would have done. And you can tell he had some fun. They had some fun with this. Okay, let's bring this back. Whew, that was sick. And I'm so excited to just drop my mouse. Okay. That was a ride. Like, immediately, you know, that nice, just big room on such a beautiful, tight snare is a great contrast, and it just makes everything so much bigger. When I hear a snare like that, that's the goal. That is the absolute goal.
In your car, windows down, you pass my street, the memories start. You say it's
And it brings a sense of realism to it too, because it's not so synthetic. However, the toms here are definitely much more processed than that snare, although that snare is probably fairly processed.
never said. I wish you would come back. Wish I never hung up the phone like I did.
Oh my God, that got me. That bass, like that low end, it feels light at first. Everything feels light, and all of a sudden it just dives down, and you can feel it in your chest. That's what you look for, and then again, you come in with that contrast afterwards, and you start adding in those little high synths, and it just really is a beautiful, beautiful balance.
I wish you would come back. Wish I never hung up the phone like I did. Wish you knew that I'll never forget you as long as I live. Wish you were right here, right now. It's all good. I wish you would.
And I've got my studio monitors here and everything, and like my sub, and they're cranked right now because I'm in an office space where nobody is on the weekends. And it's just my whole body, I can feel it. The room shook a little bit there.
Love makes you come running. Stand back where you stood. I wish you would.
Now here, I want you to pay attention to something else. I know I've said this a lot, but there's just so much cool stuff in these songs, guys. I mean, this is awesome. You don't even really notice how big and how full everything is until it's all taken away. And now there's so much going on vocally. There's so many little, synth pieces. There's so much on the drums. There's so much happening, and they're slowly being added in. Then all of a sudden, you realize how much was there when it's all taken out. But that also sets up the space for everything to go huge again.
I
here, now you've got 2 snare sounds.
2 a.m. Here we are. I wish we could go
I'm
back.
not gonna lie, this makes me want to do a drum cover of this song so badly. Oh, it just sounds so fun to play.
Being in that this mad love makes you come running. Stand back.
There's another hey in the back too that was used as a crash. So a lot of times you'll use something like a sample or like a vocal yell or something to mimic a crash cymbal. So right there, you know, I've I actually did a lesson on this on my Patreon, just a short one for some people that were curious. So drums are the foundation, the backbone of all of these songs, and everything plays off of that. And I always say, if you can just count to 4, you can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4. And by the time you get to that last 4, that's called 4/4 for those of you that don't know. I'm sure most of you do know. But whenever you get to the end of that, you generally feel like something needs to change. And most of the time in songs, that is where a new instrument is added or the vocal line changes or the melody changes. But a lot of times you'll have a crash that you'll go to. So like you'll get to the end of that 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4 to get to 3, 4, and then you start over 1, 2, 3, 4. And so you can use other things to accentuate that crash or replace that crash. And right there, she did it with a hey, which was really cool. So hold on, I'll pull it back. There were like 10 vocal parts going on there at the end too. That was a lot. That might be the biggest comeback on this album so far. Wow. And not that it's a comeback, you know what I mean. I mean, that one got me stoked. Okay. Bad Blood.
'Cause baby, now we got bad blood. You know it used to be mad love. So now we got problems. And I don't think we can solve them. You make me think about the good times, you and I. 'Cause baby, now we got bad blood.
Okay.
You know it used to be bad love. So take a look what you've done. Band-aids don't fix bullet holes. You say sorry just for show. If you live like that, you live with gold. If you love like that, blood runs. 'Cause baby, now we got bad blood. You know it used to be, now we got bad blood. Now we got problems, and I don't think we can solve them. You made a really deep cut, and baby, now we got bad blood. Hey!
Taylor showing off her vocal tone changes. Wow. Okay. Let's see. Let's pull this back. I got a ton of notes here.
So take a look what you've done. 'Cause baby,
First off, the verb. The verb is definitely different here, and it kind of makes it, again, feel bigger.
and I don't think we can solve.
That's what it was for. It's so that those drums, which are very, very, very dry, can sit more forward in that mix. So it really accentuates the drums more because that's the bass line of this song, are those drums. That's what keeps and holds everything together.
You made a really deep cut. You have to ruin what was shiny. Now it's all rust.
Something also interesting here, her vocal, and this is more talking about the mix than the actual song. Her vocal here, it's a lot darker. It was mixed a lot darker so that when that chorus comes in, it feels brighter and it feels like there's a big change.
You know it used to be bad love.
And this chorus feels a lot more open, and I don't know if I'd have to listen back to the original Bad Blood, but it might just be because there's less gang vocal. There aren't as many layers there vocally, so it doesn't feel like this huge thing. Again, I'll have to listen back because I'm kind of second guessing myself there.
So take a look what you've done. 'Cause baby, now we got bad blood. Hey! Think it's in the past.
Something else I want you to notice is when that next chorus comes in, that again we've talked about it in another song, but I don't know which one it was. Might have been Out of the Woods, where there was that kind of dark synth that felt a little gritty, had a little oomph to it. Again, that's just to kind of hammer in that darkness in the actual song. If you didn't really have that, if it was just a really clean bass, it wouldn't hit as hard. And this is a great lesson in the complexity that you can find in simplicity. there's not a lot that happens, but there's a lot that's going on. And that sounds crazy, but it's true. It's just, there's so much space, and it's not like you have 30, 40 instruments doing all of these things, but everything takes its spot so well, if that makes sense. That probably makes no sense to you.
They last and they last now, did Band-Aids don't fix bullet holes.
Now here, notice how far back her vocal is placed. That makes room for the rest of it. Again, it allows her to come in with the doubles, with the harmonies, and it doesn't feel like it's just so forward and in your face. It's a little more, it's actually very clever because it's a little more reserved. It's almost like you've had this badass thing the entire time where, you know, it's a very aggressive feeling, and now it's almost, she's kind of sitting in the corner, and this is the internal part that's upset.
If you love like that, blood runs. 'Cause baby, now we got that. You know,
The little rasp in her vocal tone, you can tell how much she's grown on this song from singing it over and over and over and over again, and where her influences are now. There was another little line in the very beginning, I can't remember exactly where it was, but her vocal did this sort of dark, kind of closed off thing as she went up, and it was really cool. And I heard another influence in there vocally from her.
baby, now we got that.
Like there too. She's digging into that guttural. Oh.
We can solve 'em. You made a really deep cut. And baby, now we got that. Hey.
All right, we're gonna listen to Wildest Dreams. Already.
And as it begins, my one condition is, say you'll remember me, standing in a nice dress, staring at the sunset, babe. You'll see me in hindsight, tangled up with you all night, burning. It's hard. You'll see me in hindsight, tangled up with you all night, burning. It's down. Someday when you leave me, say you remember me, standing in a nice dress, staring at the sunset, babe.
That's such a good song. It's such a good song. All right, let's talk about some of this. First off, the verb at the very beginning here. One thing that's very interesting that you can accomplish with reverb is this feeling of looking back at a past memory. Generally, if you have less reverb, most of the time, or not most of the time, but a lot of times it can be used as a very here and right now feeling. But if you put the reverb on, it's either something in the past, something that's kind of long ago that you're looking back on, or it's sort of you're lost in your own mind, so the space feels really big. And that's what they did here on the kick as well, but on her vocal too. And that really kind of nailed it in for me whenever she comes in with the vocal. So listen. And think about what it would sound like if there wasn't reverb there. They almost sound like, again, it's obviously a heartbeat, but it almost, that little coom sounds like it's busting out of your chest, or it's like fireworks. That's the other thing it kind of reminds me of.
Let's get out of this town, drive out of the city. He's so bad, but he does it so well.
And notice how the vocal does come a little more forward now that she's back to the present.
I can see the end as it begins at the sunset, babe.
That was interesting too. It's that low synth that we've talked about, but this is not such a big one. This isn't like what we heard on Bad Blood or on Out of the Woods. This is actually a little bit thinner, but it still provides a little bit of that aggression.
Red lips
Just a
and
little.
rosy cheeks. Say you'll see our very last kiss. My last big question is,
And that was cool too. So I don't remember if that was actually in the original song, but to keep that kick on there right before she goes to the last it is a really brilliant little move, because it feels like, okay, gone, last two things are the kick and her, and then it just sort of falls out of line perfectly.
My very last kiss, my last request is, say you'll remember me, standing in a nice dress, staring at the sunset, babe, red lips and rosy cheeks.
And notice with the change for the second half of the chorus, she is doing that same line thing that I've been talking about, but notice the lift because of the high synth that comes in.
You'll see me in hindsight, tangled up with you all night, burning it down.
Now here, this is so cool. This is a great technique. Check this out. So it starts out with just her vocal, then you add the double onto it, and then the double goes into the response to her call, if any of that makes sense.
You see me in hindsight, tangled up with you all night, burning it down. Someday when you leave me, I bet these memories follow you around. Say you remember me, standing in a nice dress, staring at the sunset, babe, red lips and rosy cheeks. Say
And there's the intimacy that I was talking about at the very beginning. That's what you get when you pull all that reverb out.
again,
So you save that
even if it's
tool.
just pretend. Say you'll remember me, standing in a nice dress.
It feels faster, it feels bigger because now those 16th notes that are being played by the strings and the synth under them are so much more forward. So you're hearing
Just in your wildest dreams, in your wildest dreams,
beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. Okay. All right, we're on How You Get the Girl.
stand there like a ghost, shaking from the rain, rain. That's how you get the girl. And then you say, I want you, but words are put better. I would wait forever and ever. Remind me how it used to be. Pictures in frames of kisses on cheeks, and say you want me. And that's how it works, that's how you get the girl, girl. And that's how it works, that's how you got the girl.
This one, so we're now kind of getting into the ones that I haven't listened to as much. I focused so hard on some of those other ones for so long that, I mean, you have no idea. I would sit and try and break those songs down 24/7. So these ones I haven't as much, but one thing to definitely pay attention to here is this song is all about movement. The entire thing is about movement with the bass, movement with the guitar. And when you have the basis of an acoustic guitar that's introduced at the very beginning of a song, there's only so much you can do with it. Immediately you're going to hear acoustic, and like for her, you're going to think Red, you're going to think Speak Now, you're going to think a lot of her older albums, which this might have been written, it probably was, I don't know. This was probably written far prior to 1989 and then adapted into the sound for 1989. Another thing I do want to point out is as we get farther into these albums, I end up saying a lot of the same things because now I've really got a feel of the overall production. A lot of times you're taking the same sounds and creating this work, this full, put together piece. And so you're going to have consistencies in there. And that's why a lot of those I'll just keep pointing out. But let's see. Let's pull this back.
You were too afraid to tell her what you want.
Now, this is filled with tons and tons of call and response. Another cool thing about Taylor's music, and you can pay attention to it right here, I actually have a full list somewhere on my computer. I do this all the time and break down songs and have spreadsheets and things like that. But I have a full list of every single song that Taylor Swift has ever written and how quickly she got to her chorus. And I think there's only like maybe 10 or like 15 max songs that she actually didn't hit her chorus before the 1 minute marker. It's almost always dead on it, or maybe even like 1 second after, but most of the time it's right before it, maybe sometimes 50 seconds. But it's very interesting because you want to get to that chorus as quickly as possible. And that's definitely a Max Martin thing, but let's see.
Say it's been a
Like right now we're at 25 seconds.
long 6 months, and then you say I want you,
49 seconds.
but words are put better. I would wait forever and ever.
And I talked about movement, that glide on that bass, that's sort of sliding in and out. It basically, you have like a glide on the actual synth itself, so you can sort of exactly what it sounds like. Exactly what it sounds like between your notes.
Rain of kisses on cheeks.
And really, there's not a lot of verb on her vocal either. Instead, they're using a delay.
Get the girl.
Like you hear that. Same thing that I've talked about a ton of times here. That's just grabbing your brain.
Yeah, and you know, works. That's how you got the girl.
And that guitar tone, I've heard that somewhere before. That acoustic guitar tone. I don't know where, but I've definitely heard that. That'll hit me. That'll hit me at some point. But also the reason that I let that just kind of play through is because I want you all to feel it after I say those things. I want you to kind of feel and think about exactly what I'm talking about, because then it helps you to even listen to music a little differently. And this is a masterclass in songwriting and production for pop music. Well, not really. I mean, you could apply this to just about any genre, except maybe jazz. This Love.
High tide came and brought you in, and I could go on and on, and I will. Skies grew darker, these hands had to let it go free, and this love came back to me. Oh, with someone new, maybe I could go on and on. Lantern, this love is good, this love is bad, this love is a light back from the dead. This love came back to me.
That song is so underrated. Let me finish writing this so I actually can remember what I'm trying to say. First thing to notice here. Remember how I talked about in the last song, when you start something with an acoustic guitar, there's only so many ways you can go with it. Well, that's not necessarily 100% true, because here it's not strummed. It's picked, and it feels very shimmery. It feels very light. So it almost feels more like a sample, as opposed to somebody sitting there strumming an acoustic and playing that. It feels like it's just another little piece of the song, not the main thing, not what you're basing it off of.
High tide came and brought.
Now here, using the double on the vocal, and then also, because the double is just, it's not perfect. It's not like they just took her vocal and stuck another one on top of it. It's a little behind, so it feels like there's a little bit of tension there. It feels a little uneasy. Then you put the delay on that vocal as well, and a little bit of that verb, and suddenly it feels like she's floating underwater.
Just gone and gone, gone and gone.
And that droning synth really does it too. It just feels so ethereal, like.
Inside it screams in wildest dreams. Love is bad, this love is a light back from the dead.
Now the importance of that Juno synth, that bass. You basically have a little arpeggiator on a Juno, and you can just click that and you hold down, whatever note you want. It just goes kun, 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 kun. You have to bring down the decay a little bit and just sort of play with it until you get that really nice forward bass that Jack uses a lot. But that sets up the rhythm and the tone. If you had just kept it right where it was, it wouldn't have very much impact. You have to make it feel like the song is moving somewhere, and that's what the job of that synth is.
These hands had to let it go with someone new.
And now her vocal's a little bit farther forward, just a little bit. It's kind of like walking out of a new door and into something else, or taking that next step forward. That's what you want that second verse to feel like, especially in something like this. And the drums that just came in halftime. So you can either play this like,
Yeah, I could go on and on, on and on. Lantern burning.
or you can go halftime, which is exactly what they're doing here. So it feels more slow motion, feels like, again, you're floating, maybe drowning, maybe floating towards the surface. You can't really tell, but it feels very open. It feels very floaty. And you might not notice that either, but now the acoustic is being strummed. So it's introduced later, and it's very subtly introduced. So it's not the primary
This love is good, this love is bad, this love is alive, back from the dead. Oh, these hands had to let it go free and
big reverb tails on the end of that vocal as well to just, again, make it feel like you're throwing that thought out into space.
this love came back to me. Oh, this came back to me.
That was so cool when I heard it the first time, because that almost feels like If You Are Underwater, which is what, again, this feels like. That almost feels like 5 bubbles, all with a little voice in them, just went and popped as they came up to the surface. Almost like a distorted message to the other side, you know? Oh, cool. And again, also, this is all going to be on Patreon for $1 as just a one-off if you want to do that. If you want to support more or watch all the other stuff, you can join one of the subscriber tiers. But I wanted to make this one as affordable as possible because I was so excited. So, all right, I Know Places. Was this on? Was this on 1989? It was, wasn't it? Why did I think this was on Rep? Probably because it's one of her only minor songs.
You stand with your hand on my waistline. Something happens when everybody finds out. See the vultures circling dark clouds. We run, baby. I know places we won't be found in. They'll be it. My love, they are the hunters, we are the foxes. And we run, baby. I know places we won't be found in. They'll know places we won't be found in. They'll be chasing their tails, trying to track us down. 'Cause I know places we can't. I know places. And over it's always me. I know places.
The tune, everything. There's a lot to unpack here, too. There's always so much to unpack. But yeah, for some weird reason, I just thought this was on Rep. I don't know. It just has that dark feeling, and it's because it's in a minor key, and there's so much grit, so much aggressiveness here, which is so anti-1989. But let's pull this back. So, let's see. So Taylor actually only has, there's not very many songs that she has that are in minor keys. I actually I had a chart. If I can find it, I'll put it up on the screen, and it'll show every song that she's written and how many are in minor keys, how many are in major keys, which for those of you that don't know, the minor key is generally sadder. The major key is generally happier. And then you have your pentatonics and things like that, which get a little more bluesy with it. You can kind of play with those, or you can find that in between.
Run, baby. I know places we won't be found in.
So something you might not notice here is, I know I've focused on this past couple songs, but acoustic. There's an acoustic guitar there to help keep that 16th note moving. So it feels like that's just flying forward.
I know places, lights flash.
And see, that sounds like somebody knocking on the door, which again plays off of the lyric beautifully. But it's almost like a you're in a hiding place and somebody's literally just banging on the door, begging to get in. One of the things I definitely want to highlight on here is the pauses. It's one of the most important things in this song is the amount of pauses, because it's almost like when you're talking and you really want somebody to pay attention to what you're gonna say, then they really pay attention because of that space in between. That was the weirdest and most nerdy thing I've ever done. But actually, probably not the nerdiest. But anyways, you get what I'm saying. It makes sense. So to have those little pauses, or where you pull everything out and she just has her one little vocal line, it just pulls your brain and you're automatically going to pay attention to that.
Ships all the damn time.
I also never noticed how that bass is supposed to sound like an upright bass, which jazzier, a little bluesier, a little darker.
This time, hunters, we are the fox.
Yeah, like you're using that kick drum is pushed so far back. It's not really pushed back, it's just there's not a lot of high end on it. So instead, you're using the little transient, which is that hit that I talked about earlier, that initial hit of an instrument. They're using that on the bass to accentuate that kick drum. So instead, it feels more like an upright bass, which you would use more percussively. Well, bass is percussion. It's literally guitar and drums mixed together.
And we run, baby. I know places. The hunters, we are the foxes.
And the distortion on the bass guitar here as well gives it that saturation. It's not saturation, but this is actually distortion on it, is giving it again more aggression. And I want you to pay attention to how she sings My Love.
And we run, just grab my hand and don't ever drop it. My love.
That is so gaga. That is so unbelievably gaga, the way that she swallows that word a little bit.
Just grab my hand and don't ever drop it. My love. Baby, I know places we won't be found, and they'll be chasing their tails trying to trap.
And notice also how the drum beat teases playing that full time, that double time, that instead it just kind of adds in those little syncopated hits to make it feel like it's going to, and then it doesn't.
Cause I know places we can.
And it also sets up the chorus, so you can bring in those 16ths with the guitar and everything, so it actually feels then like it's more double time. And that saturation on her vocal there for the last I, and then that hardcore tune, just it's cool. It just adds to that oomph, that darkness. Okay, we're on clean. Let's go. Haven't heard this in a while either.
When the flowers that we'd grown together died of thirst, the rain came pouring down. When I was drowning, that's when I could finally breathe. When the flowers that we'd grown together died of thirst, the rain came pouring down. Gone was any trace of you. I think I am finally clean. Think I'm finally clean. Think I'm finally clean.
Whew, lot to unpack there. There's a lot to unpack. All right, pulling this back. First off, this chord progression is one of the most common chord progressions used. And I think this is the same one that Don't Stop Believin' uses. But I mean, it's just, I have a playlist somewhere here on my Spotify that has like 80 to 90 songs that all have this exact same chord progression. So again, it's what you do with it. It's not necessarily about the progression, but it is about choosing the right progression for the song. And this one's a little uplifting. That's the whole point of it. And you go through, and if I found that and I went through this list, You'd be so surprised as to how many of these songs are slightly melancholy but uplifting at the same time.
The drought was the very worst.
Now, notice on drought how dry her vocal is. There's no verb, and then the verb comes on afterwards a little bit.
It was months and months of back and forth.
And in the back there, she says back and forth. It's just really subtle and really pushed back.
Came pouring down.
Couple things. One, the synths that are used, it's brilliant. So you have really just little quick, just very short synths like plucks that almost feel like raindrops, and then you have that sort of, again, ethereal synth underneath that's very water-like. We heard that before, it was used, and it kind of feels like you're sort of floating, or there is that element of water. And then you have that white noise crash, that shh right there at the very beginning, that almost feels like you're being sprayed with the water. It's such a cool play off the lyric.
Mean you don't miss it. 10 months older, I won't give in.
I love the dynamic there, just keeping it moving and bringing those drums in really just helps it grow. Here's something I want you to pay attention to here. This is so cool. The harmony is a pitch down vocal. It's her vocal, but it's pitched down, so it feels and sounds like someone else.
The drought was the very worst. Think I'm finally clean.
All right, everyone. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm going to go and do the vault tracks now. Again, if you want to watch the full uncut versions of these, they're on my Patreon for $1. And I really hope you enjoyed the format. Just let me know down in the comments what you think and what you think of the album. I want to hear everything. So, and shoot me messages on Instagram too. Do that. And yeah, I'll see you all in the next video.